Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to the final episode of the series Looking Under the Hood. Now, before we begin, I'd like to point out that the objective of this entire series was to throw light on the syllabus from cover to cover and answer all the questions you may have ever had about the speech and drama syllabus. Now, I certainly hope that I've managed to answer all your questions, but if there are any unanswered questions, please do bring them up before the end of today's session. Not that you cannot bring them up later, but it would be nice to hear from you live. So let's look at what we are doing today. Today we are looking at or looking under the hood of grade 6, 7, and 8, which falls on the advanced level of the Trinity scheme of things and RQF level 3. We will be looking at a very important tool, role play, in drama on the whole, and of course in the speech and drama exams. We will be talking about, like Dale said, the learning outcomes, the assessment criteria, and the attainment descriptors, which have gotten serious now. We will obviously, what would be our presentation without talking about the life skills? And then also, of course, we will be looking at the grade tasks of 6, 7, and 8, along with some sample videos. And finally, we would be meeting alumni who have taken these exams and talking to them and asking them about their experience in this whole process. So shall we begin? Okay. Role play. Probably, I would say the most commonly used term in drama and education, and also the most misused one. The reason why I say that is because role play in classrooms is often misunderstood as pretending to be someone at the drop of a hat, which is very difficult. My own experience when I was growing up was pretty bitter because I hated the word role play. And I remember still sliding under the bench, trying to look for some eraser which was non-existent because I wanted to get away and not be called out to do a role play. Well, in my case, our teacher would actually throw us into the deep end by saying something like, get into or pretend like a bereaved father who has just lost his child. Now, believe me, it would be very difficult at that age for me to understood how that father felt. Okay. It was much later than when I was doing my a theater workshop when I was in college. And we had our trainer who walked inside the class and without making any kind of eye contact or any conversation with us, went to the front of the class and just lied down, taking the role of a person who was buried under the rubble of an earthquake. Okay, and very convincingly called out for help. And students, after that, that first few moments of shock or surprise, all got into role. So we were either the onlookers who were volunteering to help and very eager to help, or the reporters trying to take pictures and covering the entire scene, or probably the medical team who were out there to help, or the politicians who had visited the site. So we all got into role and we got into character. Okay, so we actually felt the flight of that person who was buried under the rubble. The facilitator had to actually set the mood of the scene. This is when I actually realized the intensity of role play and how powerful this tool can actually be. Role play, therefore, is not about pretending to be someone or acting to be like someone, but taking the role of someone physically, emotionally, in every which way. So we use role play techniques in process drama. And I've spoken about this in the past in my previous webinar. We use tools like, or techniques like, say, student enroll, teacher enroll. Teacher enroll, by the way, is the example that I just gave you of this teacher who lied down and took the role of a victim. So teacher enroll, student enroll, we've got mantle of expert, and of course, we've got many other such techniques. There are a few links that I'd like to share with you, and I think we'll send it to you by mail a little later, and you can read up on it in your leisure time. So how does it help the speech and grammar exams, and why am I talking about it today? Now, in the advanced level, what we are tackling today, a very important criteria is that candidates are able to get into the shoes of the character. Okay, and they should make it very believable. Okay, that's why we're talking about role play. And also, it the I would say the functions or the importance, whether you're doing the exam or not, is that it's fun and motivating. Yeah, it also helps to get into character. It helps students to empathize. Like again, going back to that example of the victim, would be to help them to empathize with that person. And a very important factor for me is that the very quiet students who normally don't stand up and talk, they get into role really faster. Okay, and they are able to think, and they're also able to speak because things are happening in a group, and everybody's doing it. Everybody is in character, and of course the entire world can be brought into the classroom. Now, the scenario of the earthquake again, God forbid, if these children or these students were to actually experience an earthquake, they would know how to react and respond. Okay, and of course, this is all being done in a very safe environment within the classroom. And role play works best when students are asked to play the role of and not pretend like. Going back to what I said earlier. Right, so the construct of a syllabus. So our syllabus is not, is constructed like, in the advanced grades, is just like, what you saw earlier with learning outcomes, the assessment criteria, the task construct, the attainment descriptors, and how it can be applied to the real world. Yeah, so let's move on, and I'll start with the objectives. Now, the objective or the main objective of the advanced grade is, or one of the main objectives, of course, there are many, would be to be able to, I think, real world skills wherein they would have to face many situations where they would be expected to explain what they mean in a clear and a concise way, to be able to act upon key information and to make the right choices, and also to be able to explain the choices that they've made with reasons. Okay, so the main objective, as I see it, of this advanced level would be this. Now, the assessment criteria, one second, have I skipped something? Okay, all right, no. So let's look at this column chart. Okay, in this column chart, you can see that the progression of the learning outcomes is very evident right from grade initial to grade 8. And I'm just going to give you one example. So the learning outcome of grade initial and grade 1 is that they should be able to respond to questions on prepared material. In grade 2 and 3, they would have to engage with unprepared material. In grade 4, 5, and 6, as you can see, they have to be able to perform a variety of material. In grade 7, they have to engage with unprepared material, but with thought and imagination. And finally, in grade 8, they would have to engage with unprepared material with creativity and spontaneity. So and this is just one example. All the learning outcomes are progressive in nature, right? So moving on. The assessment criteria. We've spoken about this earlier. It comprises of 4 stages. As usual, the technical skills, engagement with the material. Is the candidate able to communicate with the audience? And finally, of course, the largest chunk would be the performance. So this is what it actually comprises of, just like it was in grade initial. We're going to look in depth at the assessment criteria of grade 6. Now you can see that little key that I have up there on the right. What you see in black font is what they had done or what was expected of them right up to grade 5. Okay, what you see in grade 6 is the added criteria that they have to keep in mind for grade 6. Okay, so I'm not going to read the whole thing, but just to bring your notice to the green font. The candidate should demonstrate a secure understanding of the material, including being able to reflect on their own performance with some maturity. Okay, the word maturity kicks in now. And they should, and it's very important, I think, to be able to self-critique, right? And to be able to talk about their own performance. So that is expected of them in this grade. And also they should be able to explain or show a secure understanding of breathing, the contribution of breathing and relaxation. We'll talk about that a little later. And the other one, the last point I'd like to tell you is that they now deliver an emotionally sustained performance. So far, we've not spoken about an emotionally sustained performance at all. And now in grade 6, this kicks in. I'd like to talk more about this, but please hold on to this thought. When we do talk to our alumni of grade 6, we'll bring up this question with her and we'll ask her how she went about doing this. Okay, so that takes care of the assessment criteria grade 6. Talking about grade 7. What you see in green, obviously, is what they've done in grade 6 already or up to grade 6. The font, the blue font, signifies what they are now going to add on in grade 7. Employ a wide range of vocal skills, style, and modulation. We did speak about vocal skills earlier. Now we're talking about style and modulation. They should be able to not only use it, but also explain why they use certain things. They should be able to demonstrate effective use of performance space, moving with sustained purpose to communicate meaning and narrative. Now, we often tell as directors or teachers who are directing a play, we tell our actors to move with a purpose. Okay, so you don't just move on stage because you're bored of being in a particular place or because you just want to say your lines. So you don't move from place to place just because you want. It's very distracting for the audience, right? So we have to teach them, or this is where they learn the purpose of movement, and they should be also able to explain why they moved, right? The contribution of resonance and articulation. They should make persuasive choices of interpretation. Remember, we spoke, or I spoke about how this can be applied to the real world where they have to make a choice. Now in grade 7, they have to not only make a choice, but they should also make a persuasive choice, which will be, I think it'll be handy right through their life, whether they are working or they are students or they are actors or they're teachers. I think this is a very, very important factor all through their life. They should be able to engage with thoughtful response and creativity on unseen material. Here kicks in the creativity part. Okay, let's look at grade 8. Right. In grade 8, what you see in orange, or is it rust? I don't know. They would have to now, apart from what they did in grade 7, they would have to link all their performances cohesively, right? They would also have to demonstrate the ability to respond to direction. Extremely important, again, as students, as actors, as employees, very important to respond to directions. They should be able to now make artistic choices. Okay, so apart from everything else they did, they have to now make artistic choices and be able to explain clearly why they made those choices. And of course, they have to have a sense of ownership of independent interpretation. So the interpretation they've had of the piece that they're performing is it theirs or somebody else has interpreted it for them? So they have to be able to showcase that it was their own interpretation. And finally, of course, they have to deliver an emotionally sustained, coherent, and fluent performance program of depth and originality. So you see how it's become difficult. I not really, I maybe the choice of word was wrong, but challenging would be more like it. It's become more challenging in grade 8, and in the diploma levels, it becomes even more challenging, right? So with that, we complete the assessment criteria. The attainment descriptors are again no different from what we saw in grade initial. Right from grade initial, it's been like this. A candidate gets, and who gets below 65 is a below pass. 65 and to 74 is falls under the pass category. 75 to 84 falls under the merit category, and 85 plus 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 would be under the distinction category. Now let's look at, okay, I'm very sorry that you see so much material, which is actually against the grain of any presentation that you make, and I'm not going to read all of it. But I'd just like to draw your attention to the difference, the main difference between all these categories. The main difference being the phrase, I'll tell you the phrases. So if a candidate is able to showcase all the skills expected in that particular grade, is not able to showcase it at all, or maybe to a very limited extent, would fall under the below pass. If he or she is able to showcase these skills some of the time, maybe a few moments here and there, the examiner could see those skills, would fall under the pass category. And if the candidate is able to showcase it most of the time, he would fall under the merit category. And if, of course, he's able to showcase it right through all the time, through the entire program, then he would fall under the distinction category. So the main difference between this are the phrases, maybe never, or very, very rarely, some of the time, most of the time, and right through or throughout. Okay, so that is the difference, or that is the, I would say, the sum of this entire slide. Okay, my favorite part of the presentation, life skills. I think in these entire series, I have covered almost all in detail, but I've still saved one very important one, the last one, confidence. So confidence, and I'm speaking out of my own experience. I'm no guru, but it's just my own experience that confidence, I feel, is like the hinges of a door. The more you oil it, the better it works, the smoother it works, right? And just like confidence, the more you go out there and perform, the more you take up challenges like these exams, the better you get, the more confident you get. And there is absolutely no age to working towards being more confident, right? However well oiled the dough may be, once in a while it does need a little bit of oiling, I believe, right? So moving on, like I said, on RQF level, grade 6 to 8 fall on level 3. RQF, of course, is, I'm sure we've spoken about this so many times before. It is the reference of qualification framework of framework, right? Right, moving on, the total qualification time. So like I said last time and the time before that, the total qualification time is basically the stipulated time allotted for that particular grade, which is nothing but a sum of how much effort or how much time a candidate would put in by himself in either learning the lines or rehearsing or marking space added, and the time that the teacher would give, or the any other person who is helping the person or the candidate to perform. Putting both these together is what we get in the total qualification time. So between grade 6 and 8, as you can see, It's somewhere between 170 to 250 hours. Of course, this is very indicative. It differs from person to person. Maybe we'll ask one of our alumni a little later how much time they actually spent. Yeah, it would be unfair to actually ask them to count the number of hours, but we'll ask them to give us a general idea. Okay, so moving on, let's talk about the exams. The exams, just like in grade initial, right from grade initial, is again divided into the performance pieces, the supporting task, and the reflection task. Performance task, of course, forming the major chunk of the entire exam. Grade 6. Now we're looking at the tasks wherein the candidate has to, and this is getting to serious business. The candidate has to choose any three from the following pieces: an extract from a play, a passage of prose containing direct speech, a passage of verse, a poem, or a speech or a passage from a speech given by a significant real life figure. The addition, if you have noticed, is a passage of verse. So what is actually a passage of verse? It is actually nothing but a group of verse actually of lines that makes up a single rhetorical unit. What comes to my mind right away is, I think, Milton's Paradise Lost. Yeah, so you'll find a lot of such verses out there. So they have to choose either that or the other two. Right. In the second task, the candidate has to create, again, invent a story, this time from a set of 6 words, or invent a story, read a passage of prose or poetry. Now, you would have noticed that poetry was not there in sight reading up to now, but in grade 6, it has been added. And in the reflection task, the candidate would give an impromptu response to set of questions. And this time it would be more about their preparation and the specific challenges that they faced in breathing and relaxation, right? And this exam takes 20 minutes, right? Now I have for you here a poem, okay? Normally I bring my colleagues in, and I'm really missing them today, to read the poem, or I read it out for you. But today we're going to do it slightly different. I want you to read this poem, okay? And you can read it aloud if you want, since you all are on mute. Read it as loud as possible. But it's very important for you to understand this poem, because later we're going to discuss it, right? We're not analyzing the poem, but we'll talk about the performance part of it. And I'm going to time you on this one. It took me 2 minutes to read it. So I assume 2 minutes is good enough. Yes? So shall we start? It's a beautiful poem called The Ice Cart by Wilfred Gibson. And your time starts now. Okay. Thank you. I hope that was time enough or to understand and actually enjoy the poem. Okay, I hope you felt the heat outside, even though we are right in the midst of December. But that is what poetry, I guess, is all about, imagination. All right. I'd like you to help me here. Suppose a candidate were to choose this for grade 6. I'd like you to type out in the chat box, and I want Dale to help me here. What would be the challenges he would face while preparing or while delivering this poem, right? So I'm going to be giving you certain hints one by one, and let's see, and I'll come back to the slide again, right? Let's talk about the punctuation. Were there too many or very few punctuation marks here? You can go through the poem again. I'd like you to type out, and Dale, can you read some answers to me quickly?
Surely. No punctuation.
Okay.
Or rather too few. Again, very few punctuation marks.
Right. Are there too many long rhymed sections? Especially, I'd say in the middle portion, where I can barely see any punctuation. Right? That would be a challenge. All right, let's go to the next challenge. How about the phrasing? How about the phrasing? Is the phrasing too long in places?
Yes.
Yes, you think it's too long, and that would be very challenging. All right. What about the imagination? Will the performer need to take the audience with him or her to this very strange and unknown and magical land? Would that be a challenge? No answers?
Yes. Some say yes, some say not really, some say will be easy.
Okay.
Be difficult
Okay.
to relate with.
Okay. Maybe that is why the candidate actually chose this, because it would be easy to take them to this imaginary world. Okay. What about the narrative? Is it complex or is it simple? Please type out quickly, complex or simple. Are we getting any answers?
Complex.
Okay.
For the most part.
All right. Okay. Let's look at the length of the poem. What do you think? Is it too long or it's just right?
Some say right. Most say right. Some say
Okay.
long.
It's a little long. All right. What about the breathing? Where do you think the candidate would find a place to breathe and to relax?
Breathe at commas, although there are. Yep.
Okay. But will it be challenging because there aren't too many commas, right?
A good actor will find gaps.
Okay, that's nice. Okay, great. I think we've got quite a few answers, right? Okay, so now what I'd like to do here is, yeah, so we've answered actually everything. Have we missed anything? What about the performance? How do you think the actor would act, or would it be challenging to act or enact this whole performance out or perform the poetry? Okay, we do have some answers.
Challenging, can do, most say can do.
Can do.
Very good piece to perform.
Wonderful. I thought so too. Yes.
Interesting to act.
Yes, true. Okay, so let me now show you a candidate actually performing this poem. Okay, and then after this, we're going to meet again.
Night, bewildered by the queer half-light, until I stumbled unawares upon a creek where big white bears plunged headlong down with flourished heels and floundered after shining seals through shivering seas of blinding blue. And as I watched them, ere I knew, I'd stripped, and I was swimming too, among the seal pack, young and hale, thrusting on with threshing tail, with twist and turn and sudden leap, through crackling ice and salty deep, diving and doubling with my kind, until at last we left behind those big white blundering bulks of death at length with panting breath. Upon a far untravelled floe, beneath a gentle drift of snow, snow drifting gentle, fine and white, out of the endless polar night, falling and falling evermore upon that far untravelled shore, till I was buried fathoms deep beneath the cold white drifting sleep, sleep drifting deep, deep drifting sleep. The carter cracked a sudden whip. I clutched my stool with startled grip, awakening to the grimy heat of that intolerable street.
Lovely. Yes, I hope you enjoyed the poem. Okay, now based on what you've seen, I'd again like you to help me over here. Okay, pretend that you are the examiner. Okay, and let's see how we can analyze her performance. Okay, so now I'd like you to type your answers in either a yes or a no. Was the candidate or the performer, did she show understanding of the poem completely? Yes or no?
The answer
Dale
is
again?
yes.
Yes. Okay. Was it believable to the audience that she was sitting in a very hot office and she was imagining herself being in snow?
Yes.
Okay. Could she do justice to the very complex narrative, which we agreed upon earlier was pretty complex?
Yes.
Okay. Was a meaning conveyed to the audience who may not necessarily be reading the poem like we read it? Was the meaning conveyed by her performance?
Yes, very much.
Very much. All right. And was the pace accurate? What did you think of the pace? Was it fast, slow, or was it good? Just type yes or no if her pace was good.
So mostly perfect, yes and okay.
Yes. Okay. Wonderful. Okay. What about her performance? Do you think she did a good job with the performance, or she could have done something else because it's after all performing a poem? So here I'd like you to type an answer out and tell me.
So for the most part, it says yes, perfect.
Okay. So the performance.
She could have moved a little bit and used.
She could have moved. Right. Okay. Lovely. Nice. Okay. So based upon this entire, your answers and the presentation that you saw, how many marks do you think she should be awarded, or how much would you give her out of a 20? Please, can you type out again quickly in the chat box? Out of 20, how much would you give her? Because this task is for 20 marks.
Mostly between 16, 17, and 18.
Wonderful. Bingo. I think you've got it. What I have here is a report by an exam or by the examiner. Okay. And of course, this is not the real report, but I'm just going to show you what the examiner has written about the performance of the ice cart. He or she has to say that there was a mature and imaginative commitment of the material, though the uneven delivery and pauses obscure the narrative at times. There are complex aspects like the moment of self-awareness on I'd stripped and waking up at the end. Though she does not consistently use a wide range of advanced performance skills effectively. I think very close to what some of you said, that maybe she could have, used some more performance skills, and the examiner has awarded her a 16 out of 20, which means she gets a merit. Okay. So I think we've all done a good job together, right? Okay. Again, I'd like to add a disclaimer there that please do not use this performance as a benchmark. Okay. It's just something that I've shown you for you to understand what the exam would be like and what the examiner's report would be like. Okay. And what is expected at this grade. You could definitely do better. All right. This brings us now to my favorite section, something that I've been actually waiting for. We are actually going to meet some alumni live who've taken some of these examinations, right? I'd like to call my first participant, who is not only a very dear friend, is a colleague as well as a co-actor on stage. So please welcome Ms. Ambuja Shankar. Ambuja, can we see you and hear you? Hi, Ambuja. We can't hear you.
Yeah, now.
Yes. Welcome, Ambuja. I hope you've enjoyed the session so far.
Yes, very nice. And I love the poem.
Yeah, I know. Me too. All right. Ambuja, you've taken a grade 6.
Yeah.
Right? One of the criteria, Ambuja, of grade 6 was that the candidate has to choose his or her pieces from different genres, cultures, or period. How did you go about ensuring that you chose material that was different?
Okay, so it's quite simple. See, this is all theater here. The minute you talk about theater, it's all about theater or drama. It's all about using different kinds of expressions, right?
Right.
So we need to look for different moods, pieces that give you different moods. And I think it falls in place once you do that. One can be anger, one can be happiness, one can be sadness, one can be something solemn, anything.
Okay, so mostly you, I think, concentrated on the moods, right, while choosing or
I
selecting.
really look for that, yeah.
Okay, lovely.
I searched like that, yeah.
Okay. Now, it did say earlier, and I've asked my participants today to hold on to the thought that it has to be an emotionally sustained performance. Did you do any such piece which was very high in emotion?
Yes.
And did you have to sustain it? And one more addition to that question is, was it difficult to sustain that kind of an emotion?
Okay. See, I did. There is a section where you perform a piece of a play, a short piece from a play, an actual play. Fortunately, I have done a play, as you know, Chanda, from Where There Is a Well, and I play a very, very high emotionally strung character in that. I played the role of if you're all aware of Mahesh Dattani's Where There Is a Well. So the daughter-in-law kind of plays a very high-strung emotional character in that. She's pregnant and she has trouble with her in-laws. What more do you need to get into conflicts with a husband? So yes, it was all squeaky and anxiety and frustrations short of punching the guy left. Yes, because she was pregnant, at some points she does find it very difficult to talk, and she's breathing. It comes naturally.
Okay, so the breathing and relaxation thing kicks in, I think, over here. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And also talking about Mahesh Dattani, so you chose a play from Indian genre, right? It's an Indian play.
Stuck to Indian because those were what was on the top of my mind. It was not Indian.
Okay. And how did the examiner react to that? I mean, was he able to relate to Indian
Absolutely. See,
family drama and all that?
It's a universal theme. I don't think it's restricted to India. There's in-law, daughter-in-law, the complication I think runs across the globe. So yeah, it was not something that was alien to him. Fortunately for me, this examiner was familiar with India and the scene, and he knew Girish Karnad.
Okay.
What he didn't know was Girish Karnad had actually passed away just a few months before that.
Okay.
So he knew that Girish Karnad was a South Indian playwright, and so he was not completely alien in the sense he had also played, he had a role to play in the movie Gandhi, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so that what to benefit, I'd say.
That was probably a connection, and he was not all lost. And yes, I did not take a very complicated, I didn't take a children's theme or I didn't take anything. I just took something that is, in one way it was conscious because everybody should be able to, this should apply to anyone and it should be easy for anybody to relate.
Right. Ambuja, I'd love to continue talking to you, but yes, maybe we'll come back to you a little later if our participants want to hear some more from you. Yeah, but thank you so much for joining us and sharing your experience with us. Thank you, Ambuja. All right, so moving on. Let's look at grade 7, which takes 23 minutes. Here, the candidate has to choose any 3 pieces from either an extract from a play, a passage of prose containing direct speech, from two or more characters, a poem, a passage of reportage, and a passage written for political, religious, or ceremonial purposes. Now, what you will see would be, it's a combination of a lot of things that have already happened in the past. Okay, so the choice is between these 5 tasks. The candidate would have to discuss how a piece of unseen text, so apart from reading the unseen text, he or she would now have to discuss how that piece how she went about performing that piece, or why. And this time the choice is between a prose or a poetry. And finally, of course, in the reflection task, the candidate would have to be able to talk about the contribution of resonance and articulation, and of course the style of writing, right, which is new over here in grade 7. Let's now call another alumni who has done a lot of exams and is from Chennai and is a theater enthusiast. Okay, so I'd like to invite Nahushi. Nahushi, can we please see you and hear you?
Hey, yes. Let me just quickly figure out my webcam.
Yeah.
Yep. Can you see me?
Hey, yes, Nahushi, I can see you.
Yeah. Hi.
All right, Nahushi, thank you. Thank you so much for taking out. I know you're very, very busy and you've taken these few moments for us. Thank you so much, because our participants would love to hear your experiences.
Yes, super excited to talk. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah.
Pleasure. Okay. Nahushi, you have taken, I'm so sorry. I think it was, but it doesn't matter. I was supposed to bring in Saisha at this point. Saisha, can you also come on so we can talk to both of you together? Yes. Saisha and Nahushi, I don't think you've ever met. Yeah, so I guess this introduction is enough. All right. So Saisha, can you tell us now first, you've taken multiple exams, right, in acting and speaking subjects, and it's obvious that you have this love and passion for drama, yeah, because you've taken all these exams. Can you tell us how your interest in acting was ignited?
So I actually started acting in workshops when I was 7. Okay. So I started doing winter and summer workshops every year, and eventually I spread out and expanded to Trinity and the syllabus, and so I could explore greater types and genres of drama, like epic theater, Shakespeare, and so on.
Okay, so that is how you were introduced to dramatics in the first place. And tell me, what were there any particular technical knowledge that you had to have? I think I can ask Nahushi this question. Any particular technical knowledge that you had to have before entering for these exams?
So, to be very honest, grade 8 was my first exam that I gave. But I've been actively into theater and understanding how speech is really, really important and stuff. So they were not a lot of technical terms that I know as knowledge, but there's definitely a lot of practice that went into the voice modulation, stressing on the right words, taking the right pauses, because this is something. So I don't remember the year now. I think it was 2 years ago. I was the assistant director for a play called Abhignana Shakuntalam by Kalidasa, and we did that in English. Right. Although the original language is in English, and I was telling people this is something that my director taught me. So you can convey completely alien, you can convey something very human in completely alien language by just taking the right pauses.
I agree with you.
People will understand. Yes. People will understand Shakespeare's poetry if you just take right pauses.
Yeah.
They don't even need to know the meaning. So yeah, definitely that preparation.
In fact, here I'd like to talk to Saisha, because earlier when we were talking, she did tell me something about Shakespeare and how she went about preparing for a Shakespearean piece. Can you share with us?
Yes. So I actually did Shakespeare for both the exams. And I discovered that it's not about, a lot of people think that Shakespeare is talking in a very poetic manner, but it could be very conversational. And with the verses or the prose, what you need to understand is like Shakespeare had his own style of writing. So the punctuation and the lines he wrote with the number of syllables they had, they tell you how fast or slow you should go. And there's also the iambic pentameter, which comes along naturally after a while. So all these techniques get incorporated in your speech of Shakespeare. Yes. So that's, as Nahushi was saying, that when you incorporate these elements, it becomes how Shakespeare wanted his writing to be portrayed.
Right. And did the examiner in any of these instances ask you about, why you, the pace, why you use certain pace for these many number of, like you were telling us earlier?
Yes. So when there's 10 syllables, it's supposed to be a regular pace. But once you go at 9 syllables, that means you should be moving slower. Or when you have 11 syllables, you should be going faster. So
yeah. So
that's
did the examiner ask you any of these questions?
Well, I don't exactly recall, but depending on the lines, I think, and the context, that would come up. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Nahushi, coming to you, I know it wouldn't be fair because you've done this exam long back. Wouldn't be fair for us to ask you to recall all that. But off the cuff, do you remember the number of hours you put in to prepare for these? For any one exam? Nahushi?
Sure.
Okay, I can't hear you.
I was actually asked to read the page from the verse, because it's not just about studying the one monologue. It's about understanding the character.
Right.
So it's when you understand the character that you'll understand the modulation you need to use, need to take, and a lot of the things. So
okay, Nahushi, I think we are losing you. Are you able to hear her, Saisha, or is it just me?
No, he's frozen.
Frozen, right? Nahushi, for some reason you're frozen. Maybe it was the poem that did that to you. Oh, he's gone.
He just made a quick exit.
Okay, he made an exit. All right. In fact, I was just talking about entrances and exits, and he made it. Okay, Saisha, we'll talk to you about entrances. So in drama, we normally tell our actors that you need to make a proper entrance. Okay. And you need to practice how how you're going to do that, because that is where I think, it gets the attention of the audience. Did you practice any of that?
Yes, of course, because the first picture kind of and the impression you make gives away the characters' characteristics, such as their status or so on. For example, for Shakespeare, if you have like a character with a higher status rather than lower, you would place them and portray them in different ways. So what's interesting for me is I did both the lower status in one of my exams and the higher status in the other. So having the experience of both of them, I could tell how I was making the difference in my acting as well.
Right.
So I do think that the entrances and exits matter in that sense.
They do matter a lot. I agree with you. Nahushi, are you back with us by any chance? I can see you. Nahushi, one last question from you if you're there.
I think he's having difficulty connecting with his audio.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I think that's about it with Nahushi and Saisha. Saisha, thank you so much. Nahushi, if you can hear me, but I will get in touch with you again to thank you officially for joining us today. Right. So I'm going to show you the slide of grade 8, which takes about 25 minutes. Now here I feel the candidate is actually spoiled for choices because he has to choose or she has to choose any 3 from all these, from a very long list of an extract from a play written in prose, extract from a play written in verse, a passage of narrative prose, a poem or an extract from a poem, which could be either narrative, lyrical, or satirical, again, a new edition, a passage of reportage, or a passage written for political, religious, or ceremonial purposes. All right, now here, for all these passages which are written for political, religious, or ceremonial purposes, I'd like to just like to add here that when we do train our candidates, we tell them that you may be an atheist, okay? But when you're making this speech, you should sound like you're a saint, okay? So it's all about getting into character and delivering your lines. The key skills would be again for the candidate to discuss how a piece of unseen text, it could be prose or poetry, can be realized for performance in relation to a set questions. And the reflection part would largely revolve around the style of writing and the contribution of resonance and articulation. There is not much of a difference in syllabus between grade 7 and grade 8. The life skills, as you saw in all the slides, are so many, and they keep growing with, I think, the advancement of grades, right? With that, we come to an end of our presentation.